In Kevin O'Connell, we trust. In KOC, we trust in Minnesota. He is widely viewed as one of the best coaches in the National Football League. And I think last night we saw exactly why. Look, JJ McCarthy looked rough in the first half, really for the first three quarters. There were several times I caught myself saying, Kevin O'Connell's putting his job on the line for this guy. The Minnesota Vikings invested their future in this guy. And I think following his career at Michigan, yes, he won a national championship, but he was less the captain of that ship and more of a passenger of that ship. I think a lot of us questioned, can JJ McCarthy really step up and put the game on his shoulders, put the team on his shoulders, and will his team to victory? In the first three quarters, decidedly no. But I think in the fourth quarter is really where we saw, okay, in KOC we trust. JJ McCarthy said in the post game that at halftime, Kevin O'Connell came up to him and said, you will lead us to a comeback. You will win this game for us.
Certainly, you're right. In the fourth quarter, he absolutely tore it up. He used his legs, and it was incredible to watch. But the first three quarters were the opposite of that. So how much of that is, the meltdown of the Bears, and how much of that is the rising of JJ? I truly think the best possible, the most honest way we can look at last night is with an incomplete. I don't know that we learned last night that JJ McCarthy is going to be good enough to take the Vikings to the Super Bowl. And that is when you won 14 games last year and you were comfortable letting your quarterback walk and you take all this age, like you are in a Super Bowl window. I certainly didn't watch that game last night and say, that's a Super Bowl window quarterback. He's going to have to get a long way in a short amount of time to get there to me.
Well, and there's two important parts of this story, because yes, what we saw from JJ McCarthy in the fourth quarter it should give every Vikings fan a whole lot of optimism. That doesn't mean that we can just ignore what we saw in the first three quarters. Like, he is both. I think this Vikings team is both of what we saw. And you bring up, the confidence of it all. I do wonder how much of that is just JJ McCarthy is making his first few starts.
What is going on, everyone out there? Is Coffee back at it. Football is back. Week 1 in the books. 2 major comebacks this week, man. Of course, my Bills, man. 99 point whatever percent chance that the Ravens had that game. And that's not what it was, man. Down 15 with 3 minutes to go. Still couldn't do away with Josh and the Bills, man. This is our year. I just cannot wait, man. Comment, everyone out there, your thoughts about these comebacks, how your team did. Just overall, how you're feeling after 1 week of football. Ain't it just the greatest time of the year, man? But in this other comeback here, don't forget to subscribe as well, everyone. The Bears just totally coming undone. And I don't know if you guys have seen the clips. I uploaded a short on it, man. Caleb Williams laughing, being said to be immature during the national anthem. And we see JJ McCarthy, right? That's the big story. The first 3 quarters, it was all Chicago. It's not like McCarthy was totally ish in the bed. He just couldn't get things going until he could in the fourth, and he was just on fire. Justin Jefferson doing his thing. Just a lot of contributions from everyone on the offensive side of the ball at that point and on. But prior to then, the defense not playing amazing, but doing enough to keep the Vikings in the game, as well as the kicker Reichard having a career-long kick and coming in clutch at another point when they needed him as well. But we saw McCarthy during this whole national anthem situation, right? He's keyed in. He's ready to go. And, they're taking notice of other quarterbacks like Mahomes and, Brady and some of the other greats who didn't fuck around, right? They're just really looking at Caleb Williams like, yo, you're a bozo for this. What's wrong with you? Why were you laughing? Why were you acting like you're in high school or something like that? And, the way this game went is a big narrative that's being discussed, that it's because of his non-disciplined, immature punk ass. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's fair? Do you think there's something there or what? Or do you think that's a reach? But the big discussion as well is JJ McCarthy stepping in for Darnold, how crazy was it to see him have the type of season he did last year, right? He was a guy that just, what you talking about, ish in the bed, his whole NFL career till last season had been a disappointment, a big old ishing of the bed, just nonstop doodling the bed up until he was getting it in last year, and the playoffs didn't go their way, but he said, "Hey, we're gonna let you walk." That is Coach Kevin O'Connell, right? Who played football. He was a broadcaster. Now he's coaching, and they're like, is this the right thing for him to go with McCarthy and him be the starter? Is the Vikings franchise in good hands with Kevin O'Connell as their coach calling the shots? Did he make the right decision? And I gotta say, thus far, man, McCarthy looked great. It's 3 quarters that didn't go their way, but again, when McCarthy and the team got on point, they looked phenomenal. And a lot of times teams have that off-season hangover on them still. Yes, there's camp. Yes, there's preseason, but still getting out there when it counts and executing and staying on point is what it's all about. And it was a slow start, but they hung in there, they fought, and I liked what I saw from Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? So to me, the big question, was this a rise for the Vikings, a rise to greatness, or a continuation of rising from what we saw from them last season? Or was this just all about Chicago's meltdown? And I would say a bit of both in a way, but I would say more about the rise of the Vikings. Again, because yes, they weren't playing the greatest, but they were hanging in there. Things just weren't clicking, right? And then they rose to success and prominence when that was needed. And McCarthy, as their signal caller, as the new leader of the squad, he still looked good when he didn't, like in a sense. And that's not an off thing to happen in the NFL. There's plenty of times where on both sides of the ball, when teams are scheming things up, one team or one side of the ball isn't having success, and it's about having not just the testicular fortitude to stick out the tough times until you get through and have that success, but to have the mental tenacity and toughness to do so. And they did just that. So that's my take on the game. You know what I mean? Let me know what you think about it, about these narratives of maturity with these quarterbacks, about the national anthem controversy, about the decisions made by the Vikings, by their coach, the performances you saw out there, everything we discussed in this video. As always, if you're new, subscribe to the channel. This is Jay Coffee Talk, where we talk it up on music, news, sports, current events, life, and much more. And it's all about debating and discussing the topics in the comment section with y'all. So subscribe, don't be shy in the comments, and stay tuned for much, much more, especially a lot of football content coming all season long. As you know, this year's all about my Buffalo Bills getting that ring. Go Bills. 2 great comebacks in week 1. You gotta love it.